Really?
No, they actually haven't submitted the plans. They submitted them officially to the township, but they haven't gotten from the planning commission yet.
Okay.
It probably will be in September. They're trying to get some of their studies done, like environmental and traffic, so.
Meetings a couple times a week.
They kind of want to come in.
Call the Exeter Township Planning Commission meeting of August the 19th, 2024 to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's see, run through roll call.
And then it was saying, you put into any time.
Les?
Here.
Here. Eric Mounts?
Present.
Darren O'Donnell? Not present. Jeff Whitman?
Here.
Glenn Powell is here. Jordan Wegman?
Yep, here.
Mitch?
Here.
It's AM if it matters.
Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment before we get started with this evening's agenda? Okay, if not, we'll also entertain public comments. If it pertains to a particular item that's on the agenda, just raise your hand.
What is it, at Exeter?
First, motion to approve this evening's agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Les,
I'll second.
second by Eric. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Bring 'em.
Next, we have the minutes from the July 15th, 2024 meeting. Did everybody have a chance to
Don't worry.
review those? Any
Yeah.
comments, corrections? No?
I'll
Okay.
make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Jeff to approve the minutes from July 15th. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Mitch. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. First item, under new business, the Pineland Road variance request. Do we have someone here this evening for that?
Yes, the applicant is in the back of the room. If you want to come up, John, but I'll fill you guys in a little bit. This variance request had been in front of the Planning Commission last August when the applicant had a contingency to purchase the property upon zoning relief. And at that time, the applicant was looking for a 25-foot front yard setback and a 5-foot rear setback. All three committees, the zoning hearing board, the planning commission, and the board of supervisors, all agreed to support this variance request, and it was granted. Upon purchase of the property and doing his due diligence, the owner, Jonathan Schweitzer, had a survey done of the property and realized what he had been indicated to him was wrong. And he is here in front of us tonight asking for another 4-foot front yard setback to build his single-family detached dwelling. He can make the rear yard still work, but he needs an additional 4 foot in the front. And the 4 foot in the front would be along Perry Street, which is a private road. There's only 2 other homes along Perry. John would be the third. So that's everything. Joe, did you have anything else?
The only thing I just wanted to add, due to the scheduling of the zoning hearing board, this variance request went in front of the Board of Supervisors on August 12th meeting, and the board did vote in favor of supporting this change. As Jason said, instead of 25 feet, then they're looking at 21 feet, and the board did vote in favor of supporting that change in the dimension.
The zoning hearing board meeting is scheduled for this Wednesday at 6 PM.
As I understand it, at the Board of Supervisors meeting, I think you mentioned that all the houses on that lane have the same setback.
Correct, yes.
So I almost want to make sure.
And I think the hardship too, the board looked at it also, he did have a survey, and he was presenting this back to the appropriate boards.
And previously, correct me if I'm wrong, but previously we had recommended the setback without that additional 4 feet. So this is something that we've been through and discussed at length.
Yeah, you guys have spoken about this before, and it was, this is pretty much the exact same, exact same scenario, just an additional 4 foot, which would drop it down to the 21 foot.
21 feet.
21. And the applicant actually has pictures of the other 2 homes, along the street at 21 foot setback. So he's kind of building the suit,
Okay.
even in the neighborhood.
Okay. So this is a variance that's going to go before the zoning hearing board. So this is just strictly something, again, we review, and we can either make a recommendation in favor of, a recommendation against, or we can take no position on it.
I'll make a motion to make a recommendation to favor this variance.
Okay, have a motion by Jeff.
I'll second.
Seconded by Les. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck with the zoning hearing board.
Thanks, John. We'll see him Wednesday.
Yep, you too.
I was hoping for a triangular building, but that was.
We'll get that next time.
Next, we have the Lubis annexation subdivision. Is that you, John? Okay.
Good evening. For those of you who forgot, John Hofford representing the Lubis annexation subdivision. The property address for this is 300 Moyer Road. Excuse me. It's a total of 30 acres gross, 28 acres net. And the purpose of this is Joan Lubis is subdividing. It's her property. Her nephew, Michael, owns directly across the street from we'll call it the upper field. The way it's been designated, it's 10 acres. The tract is not in the green, so that was not one of the criteria. That was just coincidental that in fact the annexation parcel was 10 acres in size. This is directly opposite or across the street of Moyer from Mr. Michael Lubis's home, which is, his home tract is here, and he's purchasing parcel A only because he doesn't want it developed. He doesn't want to look at a house directly from him since he's been there for years and years. So that is the purpose of the annexation, basically to keep it open area, but to annex it to the adjoining property owner across Moyer Road. So with that, I know we have a review letter from Mr. Rogoski dated earlier, maybe last week, that we can go over.
Joe, you want to go through?
Sure, I'll go through it. As John stated, it is just a simple annexation, falls under our minor subdivision process, which means this was submitted as a sketch plan of record.
Question?
Sure.
Does this, the 10-year,
Yes. That note has been added to the plan that any further subdivision within 10 years would need to go through the full process.
Right.
all right, thank you.
And there has been nothing within the last 10.
The purpose, it's just to reiterate, the annexation is, there will be no building, no construction whatsoever of a dwelling and so forth. But I'll go through our letter dated August 14th under zoning ordinance. Just number one is just a statement that the entire project's located within a rural conservation district, zoning district, where the use of a single-family detached dwelling is permitted by right. Since nothing's being done, it's just being an annexation. Number two, steep slopes should be addressed per section 390-48. Number three, the existing dwelling, barn, accessory structures located on the residue lot are within the front yard setbacks and is considered a pre-existing non-conforming. Under subdivision, number one, I did mention. Number two, wetlands should be delineated on the plans per section thing. And John, I don't know if
May
you...
I interrupt
Sure.
on that note, please? What I'd like to do is, Jason, can you go to the plan view?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
According according to the web soil survey, which we used to use the Berks County soil survey, but that is outdated. For the most part, we put all the soils on as required by any subdivision. There are two soil types directly at the pond area. It's called GNA and GNB. They are basically Glenville soil types. They are not hydric soil, but obviously with a pond there and a creek running through it, or at least a tributary, they could have hydric inclusions. So what I'm asking is, since nothing's being proposed, all the buildings, the barn, the house, the garage, everything else is already on the existing residue tract, I am requesting a deferral of wetlands, not to be done at this time, but that if any party, entity or other, goes to construction, building, or earth-moving activities anywhere within the GNA or the GNB soil type, that they must then, at that time, get a wetland delineation performed. I ask for the waiver, as well as wetland delineations are only good for 3 years. So if you don't do anything in 3 years, which I don't anticipate anything happening here, they're gonna have to get another wetland delineation done, a validated one, if and when they are going to go to construction, building, or earth-moving activities on that property, on either property. So that is my request. I'm not asking for a total waiver never to do it. I'm just asking for a deferral to do it at the appropriate time.
John, would you be adding then a plan note,
Yes,
pretty much outlining what you're discussing?
absolutely.
I'm not opposed of the planning commission taking that in consideration due to the fact they are not proposing any building activities. If the lot would be, or the land would be subdivided, they would obviously fall into that 10-year where they would need to go through preliminary, final plan process, and at that time, we would be requiring wetlands. I think if it was being proposed as a lot, that would be a different situation, but here it's just an annexation. But that's my opinion, and the planning commission and can discuss.
Yeah. Do we want to take some discussion on that at this point?
I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
I think that's, as long as it's on the plan, that should cover the township.
Okay, do I have a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors a deferral from the wetlands delineation requirement with the appropriate notes being placed on the plan to the satisfaction of the township engineer and staff?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Motion by Les. I have a second?
Second?
By Mitch. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Aye.
Comment number 3 is just administrative certificates to be signed. Same with number 4, plans to be recorded. Number 5, any street monuments. Number 6, sign and seal the register survey. Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
I'm requesting a waiver for street monuments at this time, again, with no development. But for the main part, what we did was when we did the survey of the entire 30-acre tract, we found every property corner on here. In addition to every property corner, at an intersection basically between a property line and a road, Moyer Road, we found iron pins directly off the side of the road. We could put monuments, but the only thing that's going to do is define where the street right-of-way line is today. So I'm not making light of it, but in all fairness, that's another comment that if we're offering a 30-foot wide ultimate right-of-way line, if you need that marked, I do understand, but if it's just to mark where the limits of the right-of-way are, I don't think it's necessary at this time.
Jason?
I don't see a problem with it. Joe, you have any?
My opinion would be we can jump ahead, and if the Township Planning Commission feels there's no reason to obtain ultimate right-of-way along Moyer Road, then I would consider allowing or recommending that request to defer, or not defer, not to provide the monuments at this time.
That monument is just to delineate where the road,
Where the right-of-way line is at. Typically, when we do a subdivision plan, when there's new roads coming in, as well as existing, this is a rural situation, so it's a little unique, but if it's a subdivision where they're carving off 10, 15 lots, and those roads are going to be dedicated to the township, then there's places where those it's a marble or concrete monuments placed along the right-of-way that we as a township can identify where the right-of-way is. There's certain places where you have a tangent line and you have a curve, beginning of a curve, and that information then we can input in our GIS so that down the line, if the township needs to do some type of utility work or needs benchmarks and so forth, that's available.
but he's saying there's already
We already
monuments
have-
there.
Right, just pins there now, so it does identify.
And we
You'll-
have that.
And if the planning commission or the township's not looking to take on any more additional right-of-way than what's already existing, the 33-foot, then there really isn't a reason to put in monuments.
Okay.
So my recommendation to the planning commission, if, jumping ahead, that if you're in agreement not to require ultimate right-of-way, then they both kind of go hand in hand together.
I don't understand the ultimate right.
So are we at, so as,
The ultimate is a right-of-way that let's say, for instance, the right-of-way is 33 feet. The township, under our saldo, is allowed to take an additional right-of-way for future use. So let's say, for instance, we had plans to take Moyer Road and widen it to a 3-lane road or put turning lanes in and so forth. We have no plans because Moyer is essentially a rural road. We have a lot of rural roads. However, there are areas where, I'll just use Lorraine Road, for instance, or Lincoln. Any of those roads, we might be more inclined, and we have in the past, to take ultimate right-of-way because it saves us the energy, or not energy, but it saves us the effort or the task of having to acquire that right-of-way in the future if the township plans on doing improvements to, I'll say, Lorraine Road by widening. It could be shoulder widening, turning lanes, so forth, drainage improvements, whatever we need. Then we already have that right-of-way. Then we don't need to go back and take that right-of-way from the property, and that could be through eminent domain, or it could be just through
already
simple
reserved.
fee. We already have it, so it saves us that time and money and expense to acquire that right-of-way for the future. But with Moyer Road, typically, we're not looking at, it's something like Hartman Road. I believe we had a subdivision maybe 2 or 3 years ago where we didn't take ultimate right-of-way because we really have no set plans to do any type of improvements for those roads. So that's something to take in consideration. If the planning commission feels as though we don't need the ultimate right-of-way, I don't want to speak on behalf of the township, but we have no plans that I'm aware of to do any type of work on Moyer.
I'll comment, just given the location and the rural, the township has no plans at the moment of requiring anything else in the future. I mean, we're pretty much where we are. You're not widening it due to traffic. There's no, stormwater systems or sewer systems going in.
There's already
Historically-
existing cross pipes
Yeah.
that are along Moyer and actually along the property, too.
Historically, given the location of this, there would be no need for it in the future,
And well, I
or
think
have in the past.
the other thing I wanted to add, we've had this come up several times in the past, and we also looked at things pretty much, if it was a collector street or an arterial street, then there would potentially be need for
Moyer's more
improvements,
classified as a minor. You're lucky if you probably see less than 300 cars a day,
Right.
if you're lucky. And it's a rural road. If you've been on it, it's very windy. It's not a wide road at all, but essentially, we've been on that road a few times, and any type of, even if we do overlay or paving improvements, we're still going to be within our right-of-way that we wouldn't need to
I was going to
acquire
mention
anymore.
maybe some grading or something. for
Shoulder,
drainage, but it's
shoulder,
all
but it's still within the
it's within
right-of-way.
the
Any,
existing right-of-way.
any maintenance, I know we've done some, maybe a couple years ago, we did some shoulder cleaning, but it didn't require any additional right-of-way.
Current road width is probably about 24 feet.
It's probably less than that.
Less than that,
Yeah.
and we have a
yeah.
33-foot
18
wide
maybe, if you're lucky in
right.
some areas.
I believe it's 33 foot.
Yeah, it's,
You have-
some areas it's steep, I mean, when you look at the land going down the property, it's quite a,
So, Joe, worst
Drop off.
case, if there were some safety improvements such as adding stone shoulders to it, there's still adequate.
we could
room.
still do it and we could add guide rail if we had to in the future.
Okay.
With
Around the
33
bend, around the bend, it does get steep in that area,
Yeah.
but overall.
So, with that being said, if there's no further discussion, would there be a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors not to seek the 60-foot ultimate right-of-way for Moyer Road in front of this parcel?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Les,
I'll second.
second by Eric.
Should
All those in
should it say
Further discussion?
for certain years or certain number of years?
I don't think historically it is the time.
Historically, there's not a time set. If the homeowner in the future would subdivide, especially within the 10-year period, then we have that opportunity to require that ultimate
So it's
right-of-way.
So it's at this time,
Correct,
that's all.
correct. So so in the future, if there's another subdivision of some sort or whatever, we still can require it at that point.
And again, today, the way the road sets, the township is not utilizing the full right-of-way that's
Not at all.
there. It's already in place. Okay, so I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. So coupled on that, let's address the monument situation. Again, it's an annexation. Could we have a note put on the plan at such time the property is further developed, that monuments
Required at that time.
monuments would be installed at that time?
We could.
I can add that note.
I have no problem putting a plan note
Okay.
stating that, making that statement.
So we're not going to do a motion, we're just going to do a note.
I'd make a motion to defer and add a plan note accordingly.
So motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors a deferral from the requirement to place concrete monuments with a note, appropriate note added to the plans at such time further development of the lot is taken, monuments will be installed.
I'll make that motion, too.
Motion by Jeff. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, or Mitch. Doesn't
Second by
matter.
Mitch, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Number 7 is just a statement that the road can, in our ordinance, that we do allow sometimes, I would say sometimes, we do allow if it meets the criteria for a natural subdivision. This is just a general comment for your information. No action needs to be taken. Comment number 8, the township riparian buffer ordinance may apply to the tributary to Monocacy Creek. Number 9 is the steep slopes under the Saldo. It's also covered under zoning. That's why you see the comment twice.
If I may.
Sure.
Yeah. Again, since we're not proposing any construction, I'm requesting, that we do not have to show steep slopes at this time. If in fact any one of the parcels are further subdivided or developed, they'll come back before you and have to show those steep slopes at that time. In all fairness, could we do the steep slopes? Yes. Is it time consuming? Yes. And is it another cost factor to my client? Yes. Does it have to be shown today, especially when there's no building, construction, or earth-moving activities? Technically, no, because it's relative to your zoning ordinance that says if you have steep slopes, if you're going to develop into smaller lots, that could affect the size of and how you develop this property, by the placement of driveways on steep slopes or no houses on very steep slopes. So that's the purpose of it, is to protect the land from being developed in a not a very environmental sensitive way. But since we're not proposing anything, again, I would ask for since it seems to be the theme tonight, a deferral until the tracks, either one of them, are further developed or subdivided.
Just to add on to what John's saying, he's correct. The way our zoning ordinance is written when it comes to steep slopes, yes, it's there to protect steep slopes, but it also gives you formulas to calculate what your lot area can be based on the presence of different category of steep slopes. There's two categories, Category 1, Category 2. There's not technically a even though they're subdividing land off, it's really being annexed, it's not being used as a buildable lot. So they're not really creating, in my opinion, a separate lot. It's actually going to be annexed onto an existing lot. Taking that into consideration with the zoning, that's how it's geared, where you go through, calculate the percentage of slopes less than 15%, and then you times it by the area of what the zoning requires, and then you look at the steep slopes, then you times that by another. It's a formula, and then you add up the area of what's required. For instance, if it's an acre minimum and there's steep slopes on the area, you might be required of 1.3 acres. That's typically that's the purpose of the zoning, not only to protect that land, but also for subdividing that you must provide additional land. You don't necessarily subtract out the steep slopes, but you throw it in a formula that was put together to determine what that required area is to be.
So question, John, given what you know about the property, the general grading of the area, is there any reason to believe that this lot would be completely unbuildable due to steep slopes?
Can I have the sheet 2? Do you have that loaded, Jason?
I'm sorry, what do you need?
Sheet 2 of my subdivision?
Should, you know what, I don't know if I have that loaded on here.
Because that's the one that shows the slopes.
Okay, my only
Slopes and contours.
my only concern was that
You might have it.
would be,
This has
Yeah.
some
there could
contours.
potentially be a lot.
Yeah, there it
created
is.
that's not buildable, but if that's not the case,
No, and
No.
once that pops up to a larger scale.
Trying.
Yep. If I may, I even have to put my glasses on, sorry.
Here, let me recenter that for you.
There may be a small band, okay?
Hold on, give me a
Small
sec.
band of steep slopes here, and over near the creek corridor, you can see there's a band right here. Other than that, these are not steep slopes at all. So they're, of the 30 acres or 20 acre residual, I'm gonna say probably 15 have no steep slopes on it at all. And of the annexation parcel, there's only a band in here. The rest of this is very gently rolling, so I would say no.
okay.
So there's nothing near the road or where we might be worried about it.
Well, there's always an embankment coming in at that S-turn. There is a drop-off area, yes. But you can't build anywhere in there anyway because of the building setback line that goes
Right, you
along
wouldn't
the
even
road.
be,
Okay.
it wouldn't even come into play.
So that would be insignificant to showing anything, because it would be at best a portion of a driveway that would scoot across there. But, and again, through that S-turn, there is existing guide rail and an embankment, so one would never put a driveway in other than directly opposite Mr. Lubus's house. And you can see by the contours how flat they get, or the span between the contours. It's it'd be a very pretty house site.
Any further discussion? Entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors a deferral from the steep slope requirement, section 330-12, until such time the property would be developed.
With a note,
With a note.
with a note, and I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Jeff,
I'll second.
second by Eric. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11 would be a moot point, because since we get deferred steep slopes. Proposed utility easements, drainage easements should include distance and bearings. General comments is just the comment number 1. Plan should note that no construction is approved by this plan, therefore a review does not acknowledge any development. There is a plan note that states the same. Comment number 3, Planning Commission did review the plans and produced a letter. And John, I guess your client is not in the clean and green, because I know that was one of their comments. Okay. I'm fine with that. The county did, they only had a couple comments. One was the clean and green, I think a couple other little items, but it wasn't anything. Oh, I think the one was a register historical, the structure. Is that considered? But nothing's being done to the structure, so there really wouldn't be a, okay,
To enroll any
okay,
buildings into the archive system, no.
okay. So other than those few comments, and Jason, you did get a copy, correct? Did they send you?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that sometimes gets lost. So therefore, comment number 4 is just basically no stormwater is being shown and no developments being proposed, therefore stormwater would not apply until such time developed and so forth. So they're pretty much the issues that I have in the letter. If the Planning Commission has any questions, I think we covered all the bullet points that we needed to take action this evening on.
Okay. So at this point, Planning Commission's thoughts, we want to, I guess we could recommend approval of the minor sketch plan to the Board of Supervisors, or that's one option, or we could wait until they accept, officially accept all the deferrals and have John back next month, since he doesn't have anything better to do with his evenings.
I mean, this would not be the preliminary plan?
No, actually, for sketch plan of record, it's just a one-step process. The planning, as Glenn said, the Planning Commission can always make it as a contingency that the deferrals are received for final plan approval.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the Board of Supervisors as a sketch plan.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Second, motion and second.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second was
Eric or?
Eric, you second, right? Yep. Yep. Okay, next item, the Dieter subdivision. Okay. Come on up,
No, it's me.
anything.
Well,
Oh, it's yours? Oh, okay.
I was just-
Two for the price of one, is that the way it works?
Who else is it?
Again, the Dieter subdivision is within the original 1947 Pineland subdivision. Obviously, that was discussed earlier with the property coming in off of Pineland Road for their potential zoning variance. This particular tract is currently known as property of 99 Spruce Lane. 99 Spruce Lane is basically at the terminus of the existing Spruce Lane. Mr. Dieter, Mr. Ryan Dieter, has this property. It's roughly 5 acres in size. Wishes to keep approximately 3.5 acres as a residual tract and creating a 1.5 acre new building lot. This would be public sewer because I'm going to point, it's easier. This particular area is one of the paper streets. It's called Easter Boulevard. It's 100-foot wide. Here's Pine Road would be, or Pine Avenue would be right here. And I believe this is Perry right here. Yes, it is.
Yep.
They are all, for the most part, non-opened, sometimes non-constructed streets Spruce Avenue does exist in its current condition, and it just falls short of Boone Road. Boone Road would be, I'm sorry, but this is Boone Road. This is one of these unopened streets. Badger does exist and does service to a lot. The actual, I think, area of liquid fuels is
It stops
somewhere-
at Badger.
Oh, it stops at Badger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everything past turns to stone,
Right.
and it's private.
And it's private, non-dedicated, 40-foot wide right-of-way, and it exists in that condition. Mr. Dieter's intent is just to create one additional building lot, and then they would tie to public sewer, and it would utilize an on-lot water supply or well. In this case, since PA American has no facilities in this area. So I was here, I think it was 2 months ago when we initially looked at it. There was some concerns. You were going to request your solicitor to just brush up on some of the private road scenarios or law. And in fact, we were going to go and do some additional items to at least bring this plan up to, in accordance with the review letters, but it was always going to be subject to a new lot being proposed on a undedicated street, not built to township standards. So I think that's kind of where we are with the gist of things. I know we do have addressed some of the comments, and we do have our new review letter dated
I'll load that up.
August 12th from Joe.
Yep.
So if you'd like to go over that.
Joe, you want to?
Sure. Yeah, just to reiterate a little bit what John was talking about, if you recall at our June Planning Commission meeting, it's kind of a unique, very unique situation because we have other areas in the township where we have a lot of paper streets and lots that have access to these paper streets. And whatever reason, when they were approved, they never got completely built out, and now we're faced with some of these situations and so forth. So I can go through my review letter, and then we can talk a little bit more about this issue. Under subdivision, wetlands was completed. We would just need a copy of the report for the township files. That has been added. Planning, DEP sewage facilities planning module. We understand that there would be submitting an exemption card. Number 3, certificate of ownership to be completed. Number 4, the existing 15-inch RCP. John, down at the bottom, is that, I think we were going to put an easement on there.
I did.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't on the plan that you received.
Yeah.
But the 15-foot RCP, that's the one that goes from the private property owned by Mr. Dieter
So is that
through would be Pine Avenue
Okay.
and would go towards the Patrick Connolly property,
Okay.
which was developed as a storage site. I'll be generous.
Yeah, that's probably being generous.
Yeah. So what I did, since all the roads have been unclaimed and technically they are currently owned by Harry Ernie, his heirs and assigns. Since they were never officially dedicated to the township, all those unopened streets are still owned by Harry Ernie's descendants, for the most part. So the law states that when you have an unopened street, you have the right to claim to the center of that unopened street. You can claim your half. Mr. Connolly on his side would be able to claim the southern half of Pine should he want. But keeping in mind, any lot owner within the original Pine Land subdivision has the right to use any one of these streets for access if in fact they want. So whether you claim it or not, it's immaterial because someone could always use it for an access whether it's built or not. So that's where we are. My gist of that statement was I only claimed ownership and maintenance of that pipe until we hit the center of Pine Road or Pine Avenue. So that's how my note was concocted and why it was concocted that way.
essentially under saldo, those items. The rest of it's just housekeeping. Under general comments, this was a carryover comment about Med Ed power lines. They may need approval. That's up to Med Ed. And then the last comment is what we've been just talking about with the unopened street and so forth. We talked to our solicitor. Essentially, I'm not disagreeing with what John's saying. Paper streets are very complicated.
Challenging, yeah.
Very complicated. The question how we want to handle this if since there really isn't anything to landowner that can, and I'm not disagreeing they don't have access to them. Whether we want to, I'm not sure even if a waiver is in line for this because of what exists right now. The fact that our road terminates prior to this makes it even more complicated.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
My problem with this, and I do have an objection to it, is because of these paper streets. Is there any legal rights that he's going to have if someone blocks him? And is it gonna go against the township?
Right, that's another, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my only concern.
I think it's a good point, and the more I think about this, maybe this is something that we're going to really need to get our solicitor just to make sure that we don't have a road blockage.
I mean, if we're approving this subdivision, we're saying, oh, okay, you can use these roads.
I would like something from the solicitor saying, you know, that this is, try to get it more black and
Okay.
white for us so we can understand.
And for the home, and for the person that's trying to do it.
Right.
I mean, I think we can probably go there, Jason, and contact our solicitor,
We've had one discussion already.
reiterate what John's presenting. I'm not saying there isn't case law and so forth out there that supports that, but I think in order for Les's concern, and I agree with him, is if we want to get a legal opinion in writing so that we don't have a problem. And it's to protect
Both parties.
both parties. Because I've seen it where private streets do get blocked. I've had that in other municipalities. We've had it here already, but
We did bring this up last time.
yes.
Why wasn't anything done before that? Second time it's come in front of us. It should have been done. It should have,
This is a very complicated situation. I'm not a lawyer, neither is Joe. We tried to relate this to our solicitor as best we could. We obviously didn't ask every question that could be answered, or could be asked.
I mean, I think
do we need to have the solicitor here the next time they bring this?
I think we either have the solicitor involved or Jason and I have another discussion and then
I think at
We-
this point.
we
just
could
bring- I
possibly-
require attendance. I really would.
yeah, I don't disagree.
Like I said, I mean, I am trying to protect the homeowner, but I'm also trying to protect the township.
No, I understand.
That's
I
more my
understand.
No
concern
matter
as a
which way
township.
you look at these paper streets, it's an argument for each side.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying about getting the best legal view we can. They're a nightmare. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
I mean, we've had problems with them on the other side of town, Fairview Chapel. We've had a lot of the problems. We have roads that were half built. We have part of them and part of them we don't have, and it does pose a lot of problems. I don't disagree.
I might be off base here, naive, but on the blocking, if someone's stated to be able to have access and use, doesn't mean they can park in the middle of it and block. Am I missing something? I mean,
I
that be
agree. I think
Abandonment
each
or
one of those
police
property
issue?
owners has a right to that area, especially if they've been using them past, I'll say, the 21-year law, where if they already have been using it, then they should be allowed to continue. Or, like John said, you do a quick claim against it. But I think if we could maybe have our solicitor look at this research
As
just a
long as
little
he
more.
says there's no going against the township, nothing can go against the township, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
You know, the homeowner will have to deal with it, and now he's here, apparently, and he knows it. So as long as the solicitor says there's no legal recourse for them to go against the township, I'm okay with that. That's really what it comes down to.
I assume our owner is
I
as
sort of-
interested as we are.
The only thing I guess I would say is, I mean, I feel we have a responsibility, really, it's to both parties, as we've been discussing.
Yes.
But we have a responsibility to make sure that that property has legal access.
Right, I agree.
And we had that concern come up a few months ago on another property down in that general area, and we went through the process to make sure that that was addressed.
Oh, he's back there. He has his hand up.
Yes.
When I bought the property years ago, I was told, Greg Coons, I think his name was, that the paper roads that went to this property, around me were accessible by me, and I had to work on them. They were not being maintained by the county, and that my mailbox would be at the end of that road. Anything after that would be, I take care of the gravel, I snowplow for all the neighbors, I know everybody in there. The Heister Road that goes around the side of the property that I'm looking to subdivide is an open 100-yard road, foot road, that nothing's there but a field, easy road, could be put in just some gravel right there where I'm subdividing. I do believe it's feasible, and that's what I was told, that I could use these roads. And then I just bought a half an acre lot behind me, maybe a year ago, and I called to make sure it wasn't landlocked. I said, can I use this to build? Yes, there's paper roads, it's the same paper road, Heister, that goes through. They told me I could use that road to get back in there and build. So that's why I bought that one as well. So this is it's kind of a plan that I've been snowballing together for the last couple of years to get this going. And that's my idea of it, and I'll fork the money out and hope it works.
Okay. Yeah, and just understand, we're concerned on your behalf too, just to make sure you have legal access to your properties.
But it's nice. I mean, the road is wide open. There's not a lot of work to get it there, and it's just, like I said, everything is ready to go. The road's there. No neighbors are in any, don't want this to happen. We'll take care of everybody back there, and, yep, I take care of all the roads, they're not maintained. A lot of them back there I take care of, so.
Okay.
And I had the means to do it, so why not?
If the township would also consider that some type of note, and we've done it in other municipalities, where we warn the purchaser of lot number one, and/or if someone were ever to buy Ryan's residue tract, that in fact it is fronting on a non-municipal road with no municipal services.
I think that would cover us.
And sometimes that's enough guarantee to the township that everyone's put on notice that when they look at to purchase this property, that note's right there, and however it is, now every attorney, obviously I know a lot, but they're all gonna have a lot of different opinions as to what your township solicitor is gonna recommend the verbiage be. We're willing to put something on as a safety precaution to at least forewarn any potential purchaser or owner. That I think, but you also need a guarantee from your solicitor that in fact they will have and continue to have access via Spruce Avenue and by coming in what I'll call the backside or from the eastern side, Pine Avenue directly goes right into what would be lot number one. So this has a unique circumstance because it will have access via Spruce and the backside of Pine should they want.
Hey, Jason, can you look into that note, that it's not on a municipal roadway, and how to phrase that?
Yeah, I can speak.
I
with-
think that would be
yeah.
perfect. I think that would cover the township, and it makes
Yeah, it's a
everybody
solicitor
aware.
question. I can work on that.
I think that's that's all that needs to be done. I'm pretty sure. It sounds reasonable to me.
I think the last time I did that, it was Muhlenberg Township, and I'm trying to think who the solicitor was at the time because they've gone through a few.
Was that Mike?
I don't remember. But that was the last municipality I put that note on, and they felt comfortable that they were okay with that, satisfied relative to the non-municipal note.
As long as the solicitor's fine with that, I am too.
Okay.
And Joe,
You
at
know?
the end of the day, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, as far as the concern of the township, the property owner has a legal right to access regardless of
You can't landlock.
public versus private. It can't be landlocked, so they have to be given access.
Right, I would think if this was challenged in court, they would win because you can't, you're exactly right, you can't be landlocked and they already have a use of the right. I think, just, Jeff, you're concerned that you don't want the township to be
involved in anything.
involved in anything, which
That's, I mean, when you get into the legal aspects
I
of it,
agree. I think our
That's my-
solicitor
Yeah, what's
should
going to
render an opinion on that.
Private property owners and everything. So
Right,
that's
it's always
why-
going to be a civil suit anyhow, but you know how it works. Township will just get involved just because that's their recourse, and I've seen it in my
So
years.
I'm pretty sure that the solicitor will agree that a note saying that.
I think as long as he can render an opinion and agree with the contents of that note,
Yes,
that could be on the plan,
yes.
as long as it protects
And on-
everyone.
And on any deed.
Deed would be good, too,
Yeah,
yeah.
that and the deed.
I mean, I think that's,
So Jason, till our next meeting, would you follow up with the solicitor and
Yes.
have him form an opinion prior to our next meeting so that John can come back in at our next meeting and
What
we can
we
make
may need to do is.
a decision at that point?
Say it this way, but I will, put the two legal deals together to come up or formulate a note that everyone's comfortable
Yeah.
representing both the owner and representing the township's concerns.
So our solicitor and your counsel, you're saying? That's fine.
Yep.
that'd probably be a good idea,
Just
and
work
have
on
them.
that, like the
I can
goals, so that-
And then it
coordinate that.
protects both parties at
No,
hand.
absolutely.
Then we can-
It's, these are so complicated, you could talk about
It's-
it for 6 hours
Yeah.
and flip-flop.
Here.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's, I don't know which way to turn, I'm not lying. I've thought about it 1,000 ways, and it's just, it's very
Because
complicated.
that's my only objection.
I mean, you know,
really
yeah,
is.
I understand, yeah, I agree. I understand.
John, the last question I had was for Lot 1, the northern property boundary appears to be down the center of Spruce. Does there need to be any type of access agreement between the residual and the Lot 1 if access is
Not between the
proposed?
two owners.
Okay,
But anyone with, and again, I'm going back to the legal terms that I got in college and have been passed on. Every one of these streets has the right to be utilized by any other lot owner within.
okay. I guess where I was
Since
going,
technically Spruce stops. No, it goes through.
It goes through.
and actually where I was going with that, I don't know if there's any intention. For Spruce, and tell me if I'm wrong here, just looking at the plan, is the residual lot or the current property accessed via gravel drive opposite Spruce at the dead end of it? So I guess my question was, if it became a shared driveway, would a portion of that be on the residue lot?
We could create an easement if
Yeah.
it does.
And I'm wondering, does that help to some degree if it's using the existing gravel driveway?
Right there. Oh, no. Okay, Spruce does stop as it hits the property. It does not, and what I'm looking at, and if somebody wants these, you can have them, it doesn't matter. I'm looking at the original Pineland subdivision that I copied out of the courthouse. Again, dating back to 1947. Spruce Avenue stops as it gets to Boone, which is right at this property.
Right.
And does not go through. But yes, the way I developed that lot line was to be the center of Spruce, so you could come in and go up towards the residue or Mr. Dieter's house and go down into lot number 1. That was the purpose of it.
Right. It looks like pine travels through, but spruce does not.
Correct. Pine did, and chestnut did up above.
Yep.
So the residue tract owned by Mr. Dieter would be on both sides of Chestnut Avenue. But yes, if we could get the legals together to formulate something that would suffice to all parties, I think that's everybody's best interest.
Okay. Any other questions?
And I'll just
All right.
simply ask that you table this project until next month, when in fact we'll have hopefully legal opinion.
Okay.
Does the board have any questions of me at this time?
Well, actually, I'm sitting here looking at that picture at the top and under the residue, but I see delineated wetlands. What does that mean, delineated?
That means someone actually came out and did a.
They performed a wetland study.
And it's okay.
And said, yeah, it's there.
It was done by Vortex, we just need a copy for the records.
But I'm saying it
yes,
says
It
delineated
was done by a
wetland.
certified wetland specialist.
Delineated, what does the word delineated mean in
They
there?
actually go out in the field and mark where the area of the wetlands, and then John's crew will go out and
Like a
survey it,
survey, it's
locate
marked
it.
out.
So it's actually marked in the field, They actually go out
Okay.
there and look at the
But
species.
my question
and
is,
so
if there's
forth.
wetlands there, how are you going to do anything there?
We're not.
They're not.
We're not proposing anything within wetlands.
It was just a requirement of our saldo to show it on the lot
Of
so
the
that you
entire
stay out,
property.
so we stay
I'm
out of
talking
it.
about, what's the road?
He's not looking to build up in that
That's only good
area.
for 3 years.
I'm looking at
Wetlands
Chestnut.
does, yes.
Let me look at
Right, everything, that's not where he's gonna build, Jeff. He's gonna build down Lot 1 below. He's already has existing buildings up here.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So he's looking basically below Spruce coming in.
all right. Gotcha,
I believe, yeah.
gotcha. That explains it. All right, sorry.
Thank you.
I'll coordinate that through you, John, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll coordinate that through you. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Thank you,
too.
gentlemen, thanks for coming in.
So do we have to make a motion to table this?
I would just take no action.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
You,
don't.
you don't have to make a motion.
Yeah, no
Just take
action.
no action.
Okay, let's see, just a couple housekeeping things. Next planning commission meeting is Monday, September 16th at 6 PM. Anything from planning commission members? Anything further? No? Okay. Anything
things.
from staff?
Yeah, two things I just wanted to announce. I know I said it before, I'll just reiterate. This coming Wednesday, August 21st, the zoning hearing board will make a decision on the 4-foot variance that you guys just voted on. Also, at the August 26th Board of Supervisors meeting, there's an agenda item to reject the plans for the Exeter Golf Club Estates Clubhouse. The applicant has pulled the plans. I asked for a time extension, they denied and agreed to allow us to reject the plans at our next board meeting. So that's not a plan, not a project they want to proceed with at this moment.
That's the.
That was a long
the
time ago,
restaurant.
wasn't it?
I think they went on the unapproved subdivision list in 19.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
And they just have been doing time extension
Right,
after time
right.
extension.
It was before COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And they, what were they looking to do?
They were looking to reopen a clubhouse into some form of a restaurant. And there were some troubles with water lines and sprinkler systems and whatnot. It kind of held it up. Who's paying for it? PA American, the applicant. Maybe the applicant has explored some other projects in the meantime, and he does not wish to proceed with that project. So board is going to reject them. It's just a formality of the, Pennsylvania Municipal Code. They have to reject the plans. So
So they don't become approved.
otherwise, it's deemed approved, and we don't want that. So, not that a restaurant would be a bad thing there, but still, it's not the procedure. That is all I had. I wanted to tell the commission about those two items. I don't have anything else unless Joe does.
No, I think you covered everything.
Well, what happened to the apartments that, Jeff, you were looking at the drawings? Did that
Yes,
slow?
I did look at the drawings.
So that's why they're not here?
Do I have to go forward with this?
I wouldn't go too much into depth.
Well, anybody who's interested in looking at the metropolitan subdivision or the development, I would say, please go down to the departments at Grings Mill, past the red covered bridge, on the left side as you're going out, and just go in and look at it. Look at the parking. That's all I will say. Is that too much?
No, it's fine. And I'll follow it up
Because
with,
that's really what my concern is. My whole concern is the parking. And
That there's not enough?
yes, and go down and look at those houses, those apartments.
I know the ones you're talking about, so.
Yeah, because I did. And so I have issues, but I'm sort of hand-tied here because the developer's not here to come back with any response.
on that note, they are scheduled tentatively to come and talk to us and present at the September meeting. And obviously, that will be an item that needs to be addressed. It's on the subdivision plan.
And they did specifically cover that at the open house when they were at the country club with all their data and whatnot.
You're really banging me here to come out with what I want to say.
No one's banging you, Jeff.
I mean, the additional parking was not on the drawings, okay? We just received an email showing us where the additional parking will go. And what's happened is that the actual parking around Building 6 is inadequate, in my opinion. okay? And that's where they're gonna put it. And they're just coming in with which should be there already.
Well, we'll get plans in,
Right.
Joe's office will review them.
Yep.
And we'll have further discussion
Yes,
about meeting
please.
their.
My understanding, they are conducting their studies, environmental and as well as traffic, so I think they're waiting to submit all that information at once. And,
And just on, if I could, on another note, to sort of the Jeff's point, just so everyone on the planning commission, because I know we do have a few newer members, just so everyone's aware, everybody has the right to come in and look through any submitted plans at any point. You can go through them, you can sit here all day if you like.
Absolutely.
Jason will give you a table to sit at.
I'll set you up in the room.
Go through.
All we ask is, some plans aren't exactly readily available, so if you could call us the day before.
You
Hey,
don't just show up here,
Right.
that was my
Can
lesson.
you give us, yeah, so give us 24 hours, we'll pull the plans out, lay them out, you can take as long as you need, make comments, get them answered. It's an open book.
Real quick question. Is there anything you can put in the legal jargon between us and them that they could never make that Section 8?
I don't, I'm absolutely not a lawyer, but I don't think
Ask-
I don't
ask me
think
that
that's
one more
allowed,
time.
is it, Joe?
If there's something we could put in
It might be some sort of maybe discriminatory.
with them that they could never make that it's Section 8? Because quite frankly, Exeter's going to,
No, you cannot,
under the under the Fair Housing Act, we
And the
cannot, we
MPC.
cannot control that, and we cannot control,
Read the MPC, that's
homes,
all I'm gonna
right,
say.
homes that are used for, to help rehabilitate, my understanding. That's my understanding under the Fair Housing Act.
If you
but
go over
I-
to Grings Mill and look at those apartments, they're almost identical to what they want to build. So that's why I'm saying, go over and look at them.
Right.
It will really give you a good idea of what they're trying to build. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
they
Yeah,
are.
Jordan, they were actually asked that exact question at the
Okay.
open house. And
Yeah, they
said
did.
they can't legally restrict it.
Okay.
But they basically answered their rent self-regulates.
because it's a high rent.
Exactly.
Okay.
When they built the one
But
up,
it's absolutely not the plan.
I think the one in Grings Hill, that was already sold out before they even got done building it.
The other new one they have is the one right behind, it's actually accessed off 724, but it butts like the
Iroquois.
Adelphia seafood property.
Oh, yes, that's
Joe
right. That
Hoffman's
Hoffman
deal.
track,
Iroquois.
that one I heard, I heard one's booked already.
That's, I was
Very,
just out
very
that way
nice.
the other
Yeah,
day, and now
yeah.
it's open now too.
Yeah, I know somebody who lives in there, and they said it's very
So
nice.
what are they doing about the parking?
We'll have to wait till they submit
Okay.
their
I mean, no,
plan
I'm saying,
and, yep.
the existing one over at Grings Mill, what happens there? Are they just screaming at each other? or
Well, I think
grass, or-
Spring Township may have a different regulation for parking. Ours is, 3 spaces per dwelling.
And they're
Some
well under
ordinances
that.
are 1.5, some are, so
They-
I think
and they're
Spring,
well under that.
Rules might change.
right, could be. I mean, ours was actually 1.5 years and years and years ago until it got changed over the
They
years.
said that they know what the minimum should be from those other apartment places. So they are going with their minimum, and that's below the Exeter Township minimum. So adding the extra spaces, well, I'm gonna
Yeah,
let
that-
those people please come in. and
Yeah,
discuss.
Right, they'll need
They're,
to
they're
state
gonna
their
be in
case.
front of you to talk about all of your concerns and questions. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
I'm
September.
just telling you to go up there and just drive around the area and look at how much parking there is. And then you'll have the same conclusion, I think, that I do.
Okay.
Jeff, for what it's worth, I'll just add at the end, my profession, I deal with this apartment parking all the time. Top button topic right now, unrelated to their development or anything they're doing. The industry standards are way over parking apartment complexes in most cases and leading to impervious areas that aren't needed. I'll leave it at that, but it is a hot button topic right now.
I believe it, because when you have people that live there and they can't get parking in front of their house, guess what? Who do they go to?
The township.
There you go. I heard somebody say it, the township. Why did you approve this?
Okay.
Got a question.
Yeah,
What's
Les.
happening with the comprehensive plan?
The first meeting's on September 5th in here.
September 5th?
Yep, in here.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Les, second by Jordan. Meeting adjourned.
Oh, I just want to make sure Jordan and maybe Mitch know that when you send emails to other members of the board, do not include a quorum. There was no more than 4 people. In other words, 4 people's a quorum. Okay, so you can't send an email to 4 people.